Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. If you desire to intimately connect with yourself, your significant other, children, family, friends, community, and higher power, this show is for you. We explore intimate topics, inspiring life stories, spirituality, and insightful tips on strengthening relationships. The show is hosted by Dr. April and her co-host, Coach K. Let's get this episode of the Bringing Intimacy Back show started. We share with you today the secret power to intimacy to create a life you love or love the life you create. Now, here's your host, Dr. April, and co-host Coach K.
Welcome to the Bringing Intimacy Back show, where intimacy is real. This show is designed to help prove intimacy in your life. Welcome, Coach K. How are you doing?
I am doing amazing. And how about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing so good. Yes, as you guys know, when I was in the show last week, I was in Costa Rica helping couples bring intimacy back into their lives and stuff. And so now I made it back home, which I'm so happy to make it back home. But I just love what we're going to talk about today, because
Yes.
Intimacy many times it's just not talked about as much as it should be. And it's so important in a relationship.
And I think it's just misunderstood, which is probably why it's like, shh, don't talk about it.
Yes. And there's so many couples. I mean, this week I've just gotten a slew of couples who are calling, who are like wondering, they're in long-term relationships, they're in marriages, and they're struggling.
Yep, it happens. You get complacent and you just take things for granted, and it turns into work. That other person that lays beside you, a few kids, and work again.
Definitely, yes. So today we're going to talk about the importance of how do we cultivate, and I love that word, cultivating.
It does. It makes it more inviting, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it just doesn't pop and happen. You've got to
Right.
cultivate. You've got to feed it on connecting a sex life. And I like how it's about connection, because people
Yes.
just think it's, sex, but it's really connecting, which is more than just the physical, but the emotional and communication part also.
And all types of communication. The couples yoga that I do on Wednesday nights, I have to make that very clear from the beginning. This is not traditional. It's more important about the nonverbal communication, the energy exchange, and the touch, those connection points.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's about, like you said, even what I'm thinking about with yoga, because it encompasses everything, the self, the body, spirituality, and all that stuff. Definitely. Yeah. So I know a lot of you guys are out there and you're in the process of getting kids ready back to school. And in this month on the show, we are sponsoring School on Wheels. And they're a great nonprofit that helps parents out there. If you're struggling and you need school supplies and a variety of other stuff, www.schoolswheels.org. Schools on Wheel, www.schoolonwheels.org is our charity of the month. So definitely check it out.
Always, I love that organization because I know a lot of people could absolutely use the help. So glad that we're supporting them this month.
Yeah, definitely. And so if you're like sending the kids off and you're like, oh my gosh, my husband, my boyfriend, my love life struggling, well, we have a guest for you. Yes. Yes. Debbie Lisa is going to come and she's going to talk about how to help cultivate a sex life in your relationship. And so I'm so excited about having her on the show.
I am too. I'm so ready to all the connections. I'm here for it.
Yes. So we're going to take a break, and we come back. We're going to discuss cultivating a sex life and how to make it connect.
Sex should not be the elephant in the room. The fourth ebook of the Improving Intimacy book series from Bringing Intimacy Back, It's All About Sex, helps you navigate every which way you can tend to your sex life. Pulling out all the stops, dive into the central read about sex toys, silky linens, and date nights. Improving Intimacy, It's All About Sex is available on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, and paperback. Search Dr. April Brown on Amazon to view all her books on improving intimacy for yourself, spouse, and more.
Welcome back to Bringing Intimacy Show, where intimacy is real. Welcome, Debbie.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes, yeah, we're so excited to have you on this show. Yes, well, let me tell you a little bit about her. Debbie Elzea is...
Elzea.
Yeah, okay, Debbie Elzea. Sorry about that, Debbie. She is an intimacy coach and a specialist who grew up in a culture where they didn't highlight the importance of sex. They did a lot of sex shaming. And so this has been, I guess, more than a decade of work of how to take sex and make it important, because it is very important in a relationship. She has been, I mean, you've got a wonderful story from being a flight attendant, a lawyer, to actually a psychotherapist and a love and a sex coach. She's a cherished wife and a mama of special needs and a medical student. Yeah, so welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Yes, yes. So your specialty includes what? Female sexuality, empowerment, tantra, understanding the dynamics.
Yeah. So I work with women, and I always say you get a 2-for-1. I work with the woman alone to totally change the dynamic of the relationship and also the bedroom. Because let's face it, most of the times if your guy is usually willing to go along with anything you bring, and he really wants you to enjoy yourself more than anything, and he wants you to desire him. So typically I work with women who are low libido, low interest in sex, or not really enjoying it, or have, body shame issues and such, preventing them from enjoying it. And I help her get out of her head and start to really enjoy herself, and also convert having sex into making love.
Amazing. Yes. Yeah. I know that you are an intimacy coach. So as we start this show off, how do you define intimacy?
Oh, that's a great question. So I actually named my business More Intimacy. So I'm at moreintimacy.net, and that's for a reason. And I want it to be all encompassing, because some people hear the word intimacy, particularly women, and they think, oh, it's a special kind of loving connection, this closeness, right? Is sharing vulnerabilities. That's intimacy. And you ask most guys, what's intimacy? And they're like, yes, bring it on, sex, right? So I think it means both, right? And I also think the way to get more intimacy in your life is often have more sex. It's often the only way to open many men's hearts up, and it fills us, any gender, with oxytocin and things that bring you closer together. So it actually is kind of a virtuous cycle. More sex brings on more intimacy, but also feeling more emotionally connected to your partner increases your desire. So it's a hen and the egg, and it's a virtuous cycle, I say. So both.
Yeah. So as I'm hearing you say, and I know there's hopefully men out there listening, the more sex is about also, like you said, connecting that emotional part.
Yeah, I mean, people will make love more often when they feel emotionally connected and safe, create an atmosphere of safety as well.
Right. So I do know that even in retreats I do, many times men call up and they want more sex in their relationship, in their marriage. Maybe they just had a baby or whatever the case may be. How do you help them learn about the importance of the other aspect of intimacy that's not just the physical part?
Yeah, so I work with the woman only, right? So that's an interesting question. How do I get the man to see that the woman needs more emotional connection? Well, one thing that doesn't work is just telling him, telling him, demanding this, expecting this. But what happens? Okay, so actually that's an interesting point. The first part of my program is often, how are you showing up? Are you showing up all stressed out and frazzled and overwhelmed? Or are you showing up relaxed and in a good mood? In which case your man is magnetically drawn to you, right? And also, are we appreciating our beloved, our man, for all he does bring to our lives, whether he's great at protecting us and providing for us, or are we totally fixated on those socks on the floor, right? So we bring a culture of gratitude that goes both ways. Gratitude, appreciation, and respecting that your man is not you and you are not a man, right? So, we look at the world through very different glasses. So sometimes just understanding that your man is not you, he's not a big hairy woman who is misbehaving. He is, what if neither of you is wrong? You're just different. And let's learn to celebrate that and appreciate it, because it also increases the polarity or attraction, the male-female dynamic, right? If we have two people in their masculine energy, we don't really attract. If we have two people in their feminine energy, we don't really attract. It's that polarity that makes sex sexy and increases desire.
Yeah, because if you can just tell them to do things, then the window would have been fixed years ago, right?
You got to inspire him.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like you said, women sometimes are so stressed out. So what are other techniques when they feel stressed out?
Yeah. So basically, I say, if a woman shows up all stressed out, all up in her head, distracted thoughts, this and that, I say, I pity the fool that tries to seduce her. Yes. It's not going to work. She's not in the mood. She needs to get relaxed first, right? So approach lovemaking from a place where you are already relaxed. And often a man doesn't get that, because he's like, I like sex to relax. Right. And that's just one way that we are built differently. Is a best sex for us is we are coming from a relaxed place. So whether you need to get some exercise, go for a walk, get in the bathtub, get your back rubbed, those kind of things, or you can put yourself in a relaxed mode much more than your partner can. They don't really have that much influence on that.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely. And I was just thinking about in your life, because you've gone from being a lawyer and a flight attendant, which are, can be stressful jobs.
Well, I guess what I like to bring is like facts and logic to the coaching process too, because it's also, and my specialty is positive psychology, which is not really probing very much in the pain and in the past, but instead goal oriented. It's about mindset shifts, learning skills. Like one of my slogans is like, ladies, you're not broken. I mean, let's say you're not interested in sex, you're not enjoying sex. You're not broken. It's just that sexuality is complex and nobody taught it to you, right? So I always come back to, it's like, what do we need? We need knowledge, right? Sex ed was always about not getting pregnant and don't get these diseases, but we need knowledge that is pleasure-based, right? And we also need knowledge on how to communicate what we like to our partner in a way that feels connected and not critical. Make sense?
That makes sense, because people will go forward when they have more facts, because there's less fear. So the more facts that you have about it, the more knowledge you have about it, you go into it openly versus fearfully.
Yeah, and women also need worthiness and confidence. We need to shed those negative images about our sexuality, our body, our desires, shame and guilt and such, because when we show up confident, then we're going to have a good time, and so is our partner, right? Mm-hmm. We need emotional connection, which is that most women prefer to be made love to as opposed to just having sex, especially porn style sex. And if you don't have the knowledge to bring some things to the bedroom that you might like, well, if your partner's a man, he's going to probably bring what he likes, and or it's just human nature, the golden rule. He'll bring what he likes, which is quite different, and often that will be something he saw in porn. So imagine when you bring what you like, you're going to have much better time.
Right. I noticed that sometimes women don't really know their bodies.
Right.
Yeah, so it's that fact, like you said, and then the fact on even on their own bodies of bringing that knowledge
Yeah.
into the bedroom.
That's a good point. There was a movie way back in the day that was like, it was early 80s. It was Tootsie, and she's like, I know I'm responsible for my own orgasm. And that was an interesting point, which is, I mean, if we are not capable of being turned on, again, because we're all stuck up in our head, or we expect our guy to be a mind reader, then we're probably not going to enjoy the sex very much. But if we are explorers together, we have the kind of relationship that feels safe and comfortable enough that we can be communicate and be explorers together and try new things, and then we're much more likely to enjoy ourselves.
Hmm. Definitely. And I know you work a lot with the terminology vulnerability.
Terminology from where?
Vulnerability.
Vulnerability. Ah, okay.
Yes, yes, yes. How do you define it? Because I know that's throughout your work. It's helping women to become more vulnerable.
Yeah, it's actually very appealing to men when we are kind of vulnerable, right? Bring out your softer side, and in kind of a feminine energy, and being vulnerable together. Um, yeah, I just be again. I start with creating a relationship that feels very, very safe. And one of the first exercises, in fact, people can take this away, is gratitude. Again, not focusing on the socks on the floor, but instead all the good, positive things that this partner brings to your life, and then tell them. Don't just think it. Tell them, right? And when people start to feel appreciated, they feel more safe, and they feel more respected, heard, seen, and that is, opens people up to be more vulnerable. In fact, I often say one of the reasons I'm encouraging women to have, make more love with your beloved, is because often a man goes through life armored up, right? Guys don't go out and talk about their feelings, right? Hey, Joe, let's go have a cup of tea and talk about life. And no, then they're not doing it, right? So they kind of go through life not talking about feelings, and being vulnerable and open. And what happens is often after his sexual needs are taken care of, and you have great sex with a man, now you really get the best out of him as far as he's more open hearted. Have you ever noticed that?
Hmm.
Yeah, when you're laying after the fact, you guys are kind of you laying on his chest or your partner's chest, and you just start talking about memories or things that you need to discuss.
Hmm.
He's in a softer
Yeah.
state.
Yeah, so a couple that has a better sex life also has a better intimate, emotional life generally.
Right, definitely. Yeah. I know that there's some theory out there where in a marriage or in a long-term relationship, they never deny each other. You know, they try to always have sex. And then there's other theories that it's like, which I believe, like if you cannot have sex for whatever the case may be, you postpone it and you give them, some hope of maybe on Tuesday, maybe on Wednesday. Yeah.
Well,
Do
yeah,
you?
maybe it would be even better, more positive to say, you are so sexy and I totally want to make love to you, but I have this, I have on my period, whatever it is you have. And you say, can I take a rain check on that, sweetie? How about, Saturday when I'm done? So give him time, and do it in a positive way, and say, I desire you.
Right. Right. Because that's very important for men because you've talked about it because they have to have that sense of respect.
Yeah, and I would say denying your spouse for sex repeatedly is showing a lack of respect. We are all sexual beings, especially if we are in a committed relationship. We have pledged lifelong monogamy to this person, and now you're going to cut him off sex. That's just seen as disrespect, and you don't get the best out of your man if you're in a sex starved marriage.
Yeah. And having to remember, ladies, for your partners, that if there is a actual reason versus continuously postponing, at some point you have to address that thing. If it was 3 weeks ago, you said something that I didn't like, and so I just don't want to be touched by you. at some point you have to address it.
Yeah, your man is not a mind reader.
Yes. I know you said earlier that you work with ladies and helping them stay in the present moment, that they don't get stuck in their head. How do you
Oh,
help?
yeah.
How do you help women who are so busy? Because I know we have listeners out there who are so busy. Maybe they're lawyers or, busy with children and all that. And they have so much running in their head.
Yeah, so that comes down to two things. One is prioritizing your sex life and your intimacy, making time for it, right? If you just wait till you are both spontaneously horny, it's not going to happen in a busy life in a long-term relationship. And so you have to plan around it, date nights, afternoon, morning. Your man's testosterone is at its highest in the morning. So is yours.
Yes.
So plan on it, be open to having sex and prioritizing this as you would prioritize anything else that was important to you, right? And then you said about getting out of your body. Yeah, that's a top challenge for women. Our brains seem to be built for multitasking. Am I right?
Yes.
And that, gets us through the day. But on the other hand, we don't want to be multitasking when we are making love. We don't want to be thinking about the job, the kids, the laundry while we're making love. And so it is a practice to be mindful, to be present, to be in the moment. And it actually takes practice. Like you mentioned yoga at the beginning of the program. I've always never really understood why, we don't take things like yoga or meditation and put a sexy spin on them. They kind of use some of the same things, which are being in the moment, focusing on breath, maybe movement. All of these things can actually be techniques to relax yourself, to get out of your busy, busy head and into your senses. Because in your senses is where the best lovemaking takes place.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yes. With the retreats, we do a mindfulness yoga, each day. And they have a custom mat. And that's their gift. One of their gifts from me is to take that mat home. And if there's ever a moment where you need to talk and you don't have the words, you spread the mat out, because that's a visual cue to both of you. We know what this mat means. So we sit on this mat, even if we don't look at each other, we're back to back, but that's our time to talk, or maybe just have an intimate moment together. So sometimes visual cues are helpful as well, because like you said, no one's a mind reader, but if I see this, I know what it means, kind of.
And I totally get what you're saying, which was you don't always need to talk. We don't always need to talk to feel connected. Sometimes the best thing is a hug or being spooned and being held and not talking. Mm-hmm. That can make us feel comforted, intimate, vulnerable, safe, all these things. We don't always need to be talking. To just be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which yoga does. And the other thing I was thinking about with yoga that helps with couples, or even with that physical orgasm, is learning how to breathe.
Mm. Yeah.
Because many times we're so tied up and we don't breathe. And of course that gets us so frustrated, more anxiety and all the other stuff. But learning how to just take a breath, even in the midst of sexuality, really does help. It slows things down.
Yeah, it relaxes calms your nervous system. And, as I mentioned, the best place for lovemaking is to come from a place of relaxation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, love that. Yes. So if we have people out there listening and they're like, I want to get to know what you do. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how they can be connected with you.
So I've written many articles that will appear on my website, moreintimacy.net. There's many podcast appearances, but what I'm really excited about is I'm doing a TED Talk in 2 months, which is funny, that bringing intimacy back into your relationship. And so I'll actually be giving a bit of my own story to begin with, which is when I hit menopause, like so many other women, my physical desire went to pretty much zero, And let's face it, I mean, a lot of people would kind of give up then. That's why I say, definitely funny, it sounds like men on pause, doesn't it? But fortunately, I knew that my brain is my most important sex organ.
Yes.
And I knew that I adore my husband and find him attractive, and I can get myself in the mood and cultivate desire. And so just because you don't physically feel all worked up about that, well, most female desire is responsive anyways. It is, we need touch and arousal. We're not going around thinking about sex all the time, but we are open to it. But we enjoy it once if we are open to it. So, so I'll start with that in my TED Talk, and then I'll talk about the importance of cultivating intimacy in your relationship. Like if you want emotional connection, also have sex and vice versa. And it starts outside the bedroom, spending quality time together, having intimacy, creating a relationship of safety, showing things like gratitude and such. So creating safety so that you can actually be sexual explorers together, sensual explorers together, which takes kind of a communication, safety, respect, because in a long-term relationship, we're going to get bored. So how do you introduce some things that are new? Well, you have to feel safe and connected and be able to communicate, as well as dedicating the time to prioritize your bond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I just noticed throughout your talk, you've said this word a few times, safety. Yes. And so some women may be thinking, well, he doesn't beat me and doesn't say all these, things. There's a degrounding, but sometimes women don't feel safe. It's not really, the abuse thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So can you explain to the women out there what you mean by safety?
I think a lot of women, what we want to be is cherished.
Okay.
We want to feel really special. We don't want to just feel like sex is just kind of porn style sex. We want to feel made love to. We want to feel special. We want to feel, and that we can open up. We can trust both our heart and our body, right? And, female sexuality requires opening up. So, being able to be relaxed and appreciate and respect each other, that's the kind of safety.
Yeah, I also see it just like that, and I see it as being secured.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not having those insecurities, even in our internal mind about our own body.
Yeah. I mean, part of something that I just help women understand, which is very freeing for them, is often women have body image issues, right? Performance issues. Am I doing this right? I don't look like the women in magazines or in porn, right? And that's a big thing that we feel. I mean, men feel it to some extent too, especially about like their size, and their performance. But women in particular, we're really hard on ourselves. We're always comparing ourselves to some ideal. And sometimes a shift that I help women make is just like, your man, he wants you. He doesn't mind that you're a little bit chunky. He desires you, and he wants you to have a good time, right? So have a good time. We're alive. We've got these bodies. We love each other. Let's have a good time with what we've got.
Yeah, that is definitely true. We can be our own worst critic.
Yes, and definitely, like you just said, Coach K, we can be our own worst critic, and the critic should not be in the bedroom whatsoever. We should be fully present in our body, not judging ourselves.
Right, which is a process almost, to get to that. Especially a lot of young people now are grown up watching porn, right? Thinking of sex is just like kind of a pounding and orgasm chasing and, a performance. And I have helped them to unlearn that mindset and be like, loving connection, pleasure,
Right.
enjoying the journey rather than just being so goal oriented.
Right. And sex can actually have so much benefits to it for each person. Yeah. What were we going to say, Coach K?
I was going to say, because we mentioned porn a couple times, this past Tuesday on the evening talk that I do, we talked about that movie. It's a 2013 movie called Don John. And I asked, what did Don John teach you about pornography? And that's a classic. If anyone watches that movie, it shows you classically in the mind what pornography can do, and especially to a woman who can never measure up to the
Right.
people that are being paid to create a fantasy.
Yeah, it was Scarlett Johansson was his lover. The actor's lover is Scarlett Johansson, but that's not good enough. He has to, like, after she falls asleep, he has to go do himself to porn. And
Yeah.
that is how addictive porn is to so many. Possibly the most difficult problem that I have is what to do. What does the woman do when her man is so into porn? It's a very difficult problem, and it's only getting worse with virtual reality and such like that. And porn became free. It's actually pretty scary. How are you going to get intimacy when you have tuned your brain into? I mean, sometimes the people are looking at not just one image, but multiple images at one single time, and it's like it's a brave new world when it comes to intimate relationships.
Yeah. And it makes your work just that much important to build that woman from the inside up when you have to compete with actresses, essentially.
Yeah, that's what I say. That's not sex ed. Those women are not having screaming orgasms. They are actresses.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show and for the work that you do. We really, really do appreciate it. And if people are out there and they'll listen, they want to connect with her, go to www.moreintimacy.net. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yes. We'll be back in a moment.
Are you wanting a vacation in paradise? Vacation to reignite the passion, the desire in your relationship? Vacation counseling is just for you. We are deeply committed to your success as a couple. Our couples counseling retreats are exclusive, effective, and intimate. At Vacation Counseling, you will benefit from a combination of couples counseling, intimacy counseling, and individual counseling while you and your partner enjoy a relaxing vacation in sunny Southwest Florida. If you are interested in vacation counseling, please visit us at vacationcounseling.com for more information on prices and packages.
Welcome back to the Bringing Intimacy show, where intimacy is real. Wow, that was really good. But the comments she made about building that woman up.
Yes, that's so important. I think that anyone who's able to just pour into another woman that extra vote of confidence, because we as women, we can tear our own self down just like that over anything. So any external that comes in is just that much like, see, I told you, yeah,
Right.
my body's just not right, or I'm just broken. So the work that is done to build women from the inside up, I don't necessarily say out, but the inside up is always important.
Right, definitely. And she also gives them a lot of knowledge.
Yes.
Because many women think the man's automatically supposed to know, or they're supposed to communicate like their girlfriend, or be XYZ.
Yeah, we have to be able to share and be able to shut some things down. When you have knowledge, you can shut foolishness down quickly. And honestly, just like I talked recently about a lioness, sometimes women, you have to just be able to bubble up that inner beast. It's a gentle beast, but sometimes you have to do that, and your partner will usually follow, and then you just put that beast away and you continue on.
Exactly.
So great show today, as always. Really excited about that. And we have some more amazing shows coming up.
Yes.
So next week on September the 1st, we have Roseanne Kapana-Hodge discussing building relationship skills in kids. And then on September the 8th, we are going to be coming to you live from the Sex Down South Conference in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes.
So excited about that. And if you guys are going to be in Georgia, come on down.
Yes, because we're also giving away different things. So, yes.
Oh, nice. So Bringing Intimacy Back is going to be doing some giveaways, guys. So if you're going to be in Atlanta, sexdownsouth.com is where you want to go. Use the code Coach K, and you can get a percentage off your registration. On September the 15th, we are going to Stay Woke with Teza Lord. And then on September the 22nd, we have Tracy Owen with 7 different realms of relational intimacy. And she's going to be giving us some different things. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Good. So if you're out there listening and you really like what you've been hearing, please give us feedback. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and we're here for you. Yes. This has been the Bringing Intimacy Back show. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Bringing Intimacy Back. We hope you enjoyed it. You can also find us at bringingintimacyback.com and Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter. Dr. April Brown's 5-book series, Improving Intimacy, is now on Amazon, available in Kindle, Audible, or paperback. We'll see you next Thursday live at 3:30 p.m.